Welcome to Dr. Dayo Durban Online. We're a church family on mission to see Durban change into a place where Jesus reigns. Here is this week's message.
Hi, my name is Hannes, and this is my story of hope in the workplace. This piece of the story of hope in the workplace starts in 2019 when me and my family moved down from Gauteng to Durban with hope in our hearts and a trust in a promise that we received from God and a vision. And the prospect of a promotion was the opportunity that was on the table. And against all odds, to be very honest, I was elected as the new regional manager for the company that I was working for at the time in Durban for the KZN region. I climbed in and we started working together with the local branch and the team, and we really developed and streamlined so many processes in the business. We onboarded new clients, new projects. It was really going from strength to strength. And about a year and a half, 2 years down the road, I was approached by the shareholders for an opportunity still within the group of companies, but to step out of the role of regional manager for the company and step into the role of the managing director nationally for one of our other companies within the group. And that was a little bit challenging to make that call, to be honest. And the first time it was presented to me or discussed, we declined. Me and my wife had a brief talk about it and said, no, we worked our way into this where we are now. We've got this dream. And the second time there was a longer discussion and we declined again. And the third time we really had a long discussion and certain things were starting to be put in place. And we really prayed long and hard about the strategic or opportunity move, and we got peace and inspiration, and we really felt that God was moving us into a different season, into a different space. The shareholders did make note that they are a bit concerned about the financial well-being of the company and just the strategy and the business model of the company because of bigger macroeconomic conditions that were at play at that time in the country, and certain type of contracts that the company was very successful in historically. Those type of contracts, kind of that model ended a bit. So I walked into the company and I decided before I do anything, I want to understand what the underlying concern is that the shareholders mentioned. But no one could really put their finger on it. So I basically took the last 10 years of financials and I just went into as we would call it, analysis paralysis on the books. And I picked up on why the concern was there and was a valid concern. And the short of the long is the company was actually running at an operational loss for actually quite some time. And I sat in front of this decision or not decision, but this conflict, the inner conflict rather. Everything was starting to kind of fall apart. As I moved over, the other company started paying bonuses again, and I'm walking to this company that's financially strained, to the point where I took my findings to the shareholders, and we had a very, very direct and open discussion about the future outlook of this venture and whether it's even viable to continue down the road, and whether it's not time to call in the chips in a sense. While you've still got some skin in the game. And in these discussions, the shareholders just said, listen, at this time we can't really make a decision, but thanks for the analysis and showing us exactly what's going on. And we'll get back to you on whether we are going to continue with this company or not. So I walked out of that boardroom not really knowing what the future will hold for me or the company.
Good morning, guys. We're in a series called Stories of Hope. And this is the first part of the story, by the way. Hannes is sharing a little bit of his story of how he found hope in the workplace. And what we're doing throughout the series is we're going to give people an opportunity to share their story. We're going to look at the first part of the challenge. And then we're going to listen to what Jesus has to say about this topic. How do we find hope in those spaces in our life? And then we're going to listen to the rest of the story. The topic for today is hope in the workplace. And we're talking about work. Let me just say, short little word. Jesus had a lot to say about work. And it's really amazing. But before I'm going to dive in there, I want to ask you, if you could choose any job in the world, what would it be? What would be your dream job of all time? If you could have any job, which one would you have? Quickly share with the person next to you. Tell them, what's your dream job? Anybody currently doing their dream job? Anyone else put up their hands? I'm doing my dream job. It's kinda. Some days not. Okay. They did a study actually. Did you know this? They did a study on the men and women, and they discovered that the number one dream job for ladies and the number one dream job for men are absolutely different. So can I quickly read to you the top 5 for ladies? We're going to start up with 5 up to number 1, and then the top 5 for men. So at number 5 for the ladies, a dream job would be a writer or an author. Number 4, they said actress. Number 3 wants to be a vet. Number 2, second highest dream job under women, is to be a doctor or a nurse. Interesting. The number 1 job for women, I will tell you after I've said about the men. Okay, so men's number 5 job is esports gamer. Does that sound? Anybody who has a husband that is an expert in that kind of job who can make it a hobby? Okay, great. Number 4, scientists. Interesting. The guys want to be scientists. Number 3, the third highest dream job for men are engineers. Any engineers in the house? I was saying you're part of that statistic. Number 2 is musicians. Second highest. Yeah. Crocodile leg thing. Okay, so hey, let's go for it. The number 1 job for ladies, give me a drum roll, is teachers. Genuine. The number 1 job for women, dream job is, I want to be a teacher one day. Okay, let's go for the men. Go for it again. Number 1 job for men are prim sport stars. Everybody wants to be the Springbok captain. That's the picture. Okay? So we all have dream jobs. When we were young, we said, one day when I grow up, I want to be, and then you can follow on that plan because that's connected usually to some other job that we dreamed about. And whether you are living your dream job currently, or whether you are doing your job and dreaming about another one, we all sometimes do get stuck in our workplaces. It feels like our work is not the dream that we've hoped for so long. Correct? Anybody with me in this moment? I see a few hands going like this. Oh yes, and then so yeah. So it's not that easy. So in other words, sometimes we long for some peace and for some joy and for some release. And we hope that it would come, and we hope that it would come quickly. And for us to look at Jesus' view of work and the kind of hope that it brings, I want us to look at 3 things today quickly. The first one is to look at the problem that we have with work in our world. There is actually a problem. Secondly, I want us to look at the goodness of work. And then lastly, I want to get practical and I want to help you to take some steps to start enjoying that goodness of work that God has given you. Okay, so let's start off by number one, the problem behind our work. We find that in Genesis chapter 3. After Adam and Eve was sent or exiled from the garden, God looks at Adam and he says to him the following. He says, because you listened to your wife, bud, and ate the fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat your food. From it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken, and for dust you are, and to dust you will return. Quite a famous portion of Scripture. A lot of people will point to this, and usually when we point to it, we'll say work is a curse, and I'm going to change your minds today. But what is actually happening here is because of disobedience, something happened in our work. And if you're really honest with yourself, when you go to explore your work world, you'll discover there is always work behind your work that steals the goodness and the joy of what you originally signed up for, the thing that you were so excited about. Suddenly you discover there's little things that's creeping in there, and it's stealing the goodness and the wonder of your work. And in this little portion of Scripture, we see those two things. The two reasons why we're struggling to enjoy our work, and why and how Jesus brings that back for us. Okay, so the first one that we see, the first problem we have with work is that we work for significance. First problem, we work for significance. In other words, we use our work to prove our significance to ourselves and to others. I'm a pastor. I'm an engineer. I'm a doctor. I am the best pastor in the world. Look at the size of my church. Anybody feel that experience here? And we use work to prove something of our own identity and our own significance and our own value. In fact, it's so close to us that I ask you who you're going to be one day, and your answer is work. And then I say, I'm not asking you what you're going to do one day, I'm asking you who you're going to be one day. Do you see how we dress ourselves up with the things that we do? And we try and make it and put it on, and it makes us look significant and feel significant. Maybe in the powerful words of the prophet Rocky Balboa, says the following: every champion was once a contender who just refused to give up. I'm just working hard. I'm going to show the world I'm the best. And I'm only a champion because I refuse to give up. And that's kind of the work world that we live in. It's very much the same as Mr. Rocky is saying there in our culture. Why we work? We want to be champions. We want to be successful. My work is the thing that makes me. We work to become something. Our work ultimately defines us. Now, if I say that, the question you might be asking is, why is that bad, Lorraine? I mean, what's wrong with that? Well, the reason why it's bad is because if you work for significance, you will never, ever rest. You will always be busy working. I think the best quote that I've ever heard about this idea of working, I mean, you're always sweating it out. You're always fighting against the little thorns that might be pricking you when you're going to be failing. You just need to prove through your work that you're good enough. You need to get that badge that makes you feel appreciated and approved. Or in the words of Madonna in Vogue Magazine, she says it so beautifully. Check out this. And all of my will has always been to conquer some horrible feeling of inadequacy. I'm always struggling with that fear. I push past one spell of it and discover myself as a special human being, and then I get to another stage and think I'm mediocre and uninteresting. And I find a way to get myself out of that again and again. My drive in life is from the horrible fear of being mediocre. And that's always pushing me. Have you ever felt that experience? That you're pushed to try and be the best, try and prove yourself and your worth, and you're trying to use your work to do it. You know, when you're in that space, you never get rest for your soul. It's interesting enough, she says, she just gets there and then it lasts only this little bit and it goes away again. Then I need to work hard again to get it going. And the whole time, you're a slave of being significant. Now, I know some of you guys might think, yeah, wondering, Madonna just hadn't worked hard enough. You really need to work hard. When you get up there in your next level, then you will finally find significance because you worked your way up. You made a name for yourself. Well, listen to another rich and famous guy. His name is Jim Carrey. He says, I wish everyone could get rich and famous and everything they've ever dreamed of so they can see that is not the answer. Guys, the first reason why we are sitting in deep trouble when it comes to our work, why you're tired, why you're struggling, is most likely because you're using work in the wrong way. You're in a battle and you're trying to use it to prove your significance. And let me tell you, if you continue down the road of significance, working for significance, you will be worn out and let down. The second problem we have with work is that we work for survival. Anybody can relate to this one? It's that wake up, work, go to rest, wake up, work, go to rest. Anybody been in that one before? And then you feel like, what is this all life is about? Just waking up and working. It's like there's no meaning. It's life is meaningless. We work for survival. You work for a salary. It talks about it so beautifully here in Genesis chapter 3 when it says, for dust you are and to dust you will return. It's like this meaningless desert dweller. There's no hope. And you're sitting at work and you're dreaming about an oasis. Probably sitting at work dreaming about a work job. Some of us are even dreaming about Jesus coming to get me because work is an unbelievable curse. I can't wait to go back to heaven now. This is terrible. I don't like it. Because we settled for work to just become a place to survive. There is no meaningful significance for us in it. When we work for significance or for survival, what happens? So we lose all of the goodness that God intended for us to have and to enjoy in our work. So let's look at the goodness. I think you won't believe me, but it's actually amazing. But before I'm going to show you guys, in order to do and to look at the goodness of work that the Bible gives us and shows us, I first want us to look at other origin stories and their view of work. The first one is like a myth, Pandora's box. Anybody knows Pandora's box? And the story goes that Pandora's box was open and all kinds of curses came out of that box of her sickness and all that stuff. And one of the things that came out was work. So in mythology, work is a curse. The other picture is the picture of the Babylonian god Marduk. Unto him, work is a demeaning activity, not fitted for the gods. So humanity gets cursed, according to the Babylonians, to do all the work so that the gods can rest and have a great time. That's the view of work in other creative stories and narratives. So here's the picture of work in the Bible. Work in the Bible, according to God, is part of paradise. God put Adam and Eve in the garden and he said, work it, cultivate it, keep it. Work is paradise. That sounds impossible. I see some smiles here. What do you mean paradise, Lorena? I don't see paradise. We're going to get there now. Second thing we see about work that's amazing about its goodness is we actually see God at work in our narrative. I mean, he works for 6 days. At a certain stage, we even see him doing a work that most of us probably won't even put our hands up for, but he's doing gardening as he forms man out on the ground, putting his hands in the dirt. There's no kind of work that's undignified. If God himself is doing what we call in our culture blue-collar work, I mean, he's redeeming all kinds of work. He's actually saying, guys, work is a godly activity. So how do I get to enjoy this goodness of work? How do I bring it out into my life? Well, two things. I think, first of all, instead of working for significance, you need to today decide that you're going to start working for God. And start off there. Stop working for your own significance and start working for the King of Glory. If you're really honest with yourself in your heart, if you are working for significance, every single project that you complete, every single thing that you do, you might say it's for Jesus, but deep inside, you're waiting for that backhand tap. You feel good about yourself. Correct? So for whose glory are you working? For whose name are you working? Whose name is lifted up in that moment? You or the King of Glory? Colossians 3:23 says it as follows. Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord, not for a human master. The second way, I think, in which we can truly enjoy our work is when we stop working like slaves, trying to survive, and we start working like God works, like children. We follow our dad's cue. And the way God works is quite powerful. It's amazing to see that in Genesis. He works by bringing order where there was once chaos. And here's what I want us to really get practical. But I want you to think about this. Answer this question. What areas in your work life is currently filled with chaos? Where does it feel like I cannot see a way out? Where in your workplace is there chaos? Because that is an amazing opportunity to go to work. Because what Jesus did, what God does, and the way He works, is takes those areas and brings it into order. And in such order that life will flourish. I'm going to give you a quick example. When it comes to relationships, maybe you're struggling. Maybe you need to start forgiving. Maybe you need to start blessing. Maybe you need to start interceding and praying for the people at your workplace. You know that boss of yours who Jesus deeply and dearly loves. Maybe he needs to find his love. So start praying blessing over his life and bring God's order into that space.
A week later, we had a follow-up discussion, and the shareholders came back with a decision. Originally, the decision wasn't positive. I did not only present them with a problem, but I also presented a possible solution. And most of the ideas that I got were definitely not from my own doing, I can promise you that. There was some decent amount of divine intervention in that one and wisdom. And I put the strategy on the table, they discussed it, and a week later they came back to me to say, listen, at first we didn't have too much confidence in it, but after further discussion and further discussion, we decided we actually want to give your strategy a go. As we got approval of the new strategy, one of my two engineers got headhunted. And about a month later, the other one of my one engineers that was left got headhunted. So I sat at a place where we had no engineers. We're an engineering company. And I was really at a difficult place at that time. I thought, God, I I felt you move. You gave this opportunity to me, and I had peace, and you gave me all this vision and dreams and ideas for this company. It wasn't what I expected at first, and then you helped me conjure up the strategy to turn it around, and that was approved. And then the people that should implement that strategy started leaving. And I thought to myself, okay, God, so now what? And I was at a place where I knew, listen, we are now at beyond the point of no return. There is absolutely nothing in my human capacity that I can do. This is your company. It's like Moses, this is your nation, this is your people, this is your company. I felt like that at a stage. God really sent us the right people at the right time, and the right clients, and the right projects, and everything just started miraculously to fall into place. And in the first year, we saw a growth in the company that is market related for a developing and growing company. But the second year, we saw a growth that it's unfathomable. It does not make sense, to be very honest. And it was absolute divine. Everything that just fell into place. And the 5-year turnaround strategy turned into a 2-year strategy. 2 years down the line, company's viable, great prospects, great clients, great businesses, models, relationships. And we sat at the beginning of 2024 in our strategic session to say, okay guys, we've made it this far, so what is our 10-year goal? And we said to ourselves, in 10 years we want to be seen and recognized as the best energy engineering company in South Africa. And this session was February 2024. Last month, in end of September 2024, we were awarded the best energy services company of South Africa for 2024. So, it's unbelievable when you start trusting God to solve your problems and stop worrying about them yourself, and bringing Him into the challenges, and bringing Him into the boardroom, and asking Him for the wisdom and the strategies. It's unbelievable to see what He can do. The advice that I would give to anyone that's facing real challenges at work is to not listen to the noise. Don't listen to the storm, but rather find your answers in the silence. Go sit with God. Go and pray about it. Go and put your strategies together with Him, and not in the midst of the battle. Go to your war room and plan your war.
Thanks for joining us online today. As a family, we would love to meet you in person, so plan a visit to our Dr. Deo Durban campus by going to drDeo.org/Durban.